My guests today are French Broad Riverkeeper Anna Alsobrook and River Cleanup Operations Manager for MountainTrue, John Stamper. As MountainTrue's French Broad Riverkeeper, Anna facilitates water quality monitoring, citizen science, and improvement programs in the French Broad River watershed. Prior to moving to Western North Carolina and working for MountainTrue in 2014, she was a Peace Corps volunteer in rural Senegal and attained her undergraduate and graduate degrees at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. John Stamper was born and raised in Asheville and resides in Madison County. Stamper is a veteran of the United States Marines. For over a decade, Stamper has worked as a raft guide, swiftwater rescue instructor, and operations manager of a local river outfitter. Stamper is an avid boater who loves being in a raft whenever possible. He's excited to help with the cleanup of our region's rivers, and he's committed to helping ensure cleanup efforts are safe and inclusive. Welcome, y'all. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with a question, and then we'll see where it goes and layer on some context in the context of Hurricane Helene and the amazing work that y'all do. To start, though, I'll just ask the general question. What does discomfort mean to you, or discomfort zone? Like when I say discomfort zone, what does that mean to you, or what comes up? And Anna, let's start with you, and then we'll go to Stamper.
Sure. So for me, I think I'm feeling it right now. I'm like a little elevated.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's like me talking about feelings and stuff I don't feel well versed in talking about. I do recognize it as a learning opportunity and a zone of growth. And for that reason, I try not to shy away from it, but I can't say that I always don't shy away from it.
Yeah, I hear you. What about you, Stamper?
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of maybe I'm looking at it a little bit more from like a, out in the world, kind of pushing yourself out into an area where you either feel challenged or maybe just a little bit beyond what you feel is normal. Whether that be, in a river or in a cold work day or anything that's just kind of just outside of where you feel like you kind of center around home. So.
Yeah. And what are some strategies that y'all use to move through your discomfort zone when you're in it?
So this is going to sound weird, but I feel it like I have itchy armpits when I'm feeling the discomfort zone.
Love it. I love weird.
I don't know.
Way to jump in.
And so when I feel that happening, I'm like, oh, this is a time for me to get in my body, like discover what's going on, try to focus on my breath, and get myself out of my brain. I'm pretty brain heavy as a 7 on the Enneagram.
Ooh,
and I just try to take a moment to remove myself from either the situation or my brain and bring myself back into my body.
Yeah. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, the challenger. Oh, yeah? What's 7?
7's like enthusiast, I think, is the official word.
Right on. I've been thinking I need to go back and read those.
We just did a whole staff retreat on it, so it's fresh.
Oh, you did? Oh, how cool. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. All right, then, John, I have to ask, what are you on the Enneagram?
Yeah, sure. I landed as a 9. I think it's the reformer, I believe.
Nice.
Like so,
right on.
Yeah.
What are some strategies that you use, John, for facing your discomfort zone and moving through it?
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of like just acknowledging the feeling, like the butterflies in the stomach or the little anxiousness or anxiety about, what needs to be done next. And then just kind of trying to separate myself from it a little bit and look at the outcome. And if it's a it's a scout going down a river. It's like, starting at the end of the rapid and working back, upstream. And if it's, a hard day in the field or something, it's just kind of grounding myself and remembering that, at the end of the day, should be walking out of it back into a warm house and family and friends and that sort of thing. So I kind of try to just acknowledge it. And then sometimes you got to trick yourself to move past it a little bit, but just keep moving.
Sure. Yeah, I love that you both pointed to embodiment and grounding in different ways. That's why I love having these conversations, is to hear different folks' perspective. And sometimes it points to a similar strategy, but there's different ways of getting to it. And I really love that there are many different ways. So thanks for sharing, and thanks for sharing your Enneagrams. And then, so if we layer on, Hurricane Helene last year, catastrophic, flood, storm that deeply affected people, rivers, ecosystems. And so if we layer that on, how was it to face that discomfort zone from y'all's perspective, being really involved in the, I'll say, environmental community? Y'all probably have a more specific term for it, but being involved in the rivers and committed to the rivers, what was that like for y'all? Quick pause so I can tell you about something that's been described, not by me, but by real paddlers, as life-changing, brain-changing, and in one case, which is my favorite, Justin, a participant, told his youngest brother who just graduated from high school that he should just skip college and take this course instead. It's called Mental Agility Mastery, or MAM, my 8-week program that helps you regulate your nervous system, calm fear, and show up to the river and your life with way more steadiness, clarity, and joy. But don't just take my word for it. Sean also wrote, "You've given me a gift to share with others that's literally saving lives." Kim said MAM helped her feel more steady and joyful on the water. And Catherine said the community has been inspiring, motivating, and one of the greatest gifts she's gained. People talk about better sleep, better boundaries, better digestion. Yes, really. Less brain fog, more confidence, morning routines that actually feel good, and epiphanies that ripple into every corner of life. And one participant said something that I think captures the whole spirit of MAM. "I've learned tools I use every single day, not just for paddling, but for living." So if you're tired of spiraling, second guessing, freezing up, or feeling like your mind is working harder than you're paddling, come join us inside Mental Agility Mastery. You'll get practical tools, an incredible community, and a whole new way of showing up for yourself on and off the river. Because you're a Discomfort Zone podcast listener, you get a 20% discount. So go to mindbodypaddle.com/mental-agility-mastery and use code POD20 at checkout. That's mindbodypaddle.com/mental-agility-mastery and use code POD20 at checkout. Thanks, and let's get back to the episode. Moving through that discomfort zone.
I can start. So I was actually not here when Helene hit. I was at a Riverkeeper conference in Milwaukee. And I think I was one of the few people who could see how big of an impact Helene was having in real time. Just seeing what people were posting and what little news was coming out about it. My boss Hartwell people were texting me videos and photos of what was going on around them. Also, information was coming out of like potential dam failures on certain rivers. And so it was really hard for me to not be here. I just taking it all in from afar, felt very helpless and just so itchy to come back into town. I was able to get back into town, I think it was the Sunday after the storm hit, and to see it with my eyes was a whole nother story. And that was every inch of the watershed I went to, it was just like devastation. And so kind of like having a bit of survival's guilt about not being here when the storm hit, but also turning into what do we do next? How do we navigate this? There's no playbook for how to deal with a natural disaster like this. And then layering into that, taking care of my family, my neighborhood, with what capacity I had, when and where. It was just, I kind of call it like trial by error. We just tried a lot of things and saw what stuck. I'm forgetting what your original question was now, Anna.
Yeah,
Sorry
what's
about
the
that.
strategy? No, like the strategy that you used to, move through the discomfort zone of the challenge, all the things that came up with Helene.
Yeah, it was a lot of just talking to people in the community and learning from them what their stories were to frame our next steps. So for us at MountainTrue, we decided to just start grilling food for people. People didn't have electricity in the Asheville area, and we set up several shops where we just grilled hot dogs and hamburgers in some of the community center response zones. And that put us in front of hundreds of people, and we could hear their stories and hear what they were worried about. And through those conversations, we learned that a lot of people had, if you were in the city of Asheville, you didn't have drinking water. But if you were in maybe Buncombe County or some of the surrounding counties in the watershed, and for context for listeners, the French Broad watershed spans 8 counties in North Carolina, 5 counties in East Tennessee, all of which were severely affected by Helene. If you were in another area besides Asheville, you may have been on a private drinking water well, which got flooded by Helene, and those folks didn't know if it was safe to drink their water. So sampling drinking water is not something we typically do here at MountainTrue. We usually do surface waters like creeks and streams. But the skill set is the same. It's the same method. And so we set up all over the place for private drinking water well sampling so that we could let folks know if they could drink from their own drinking water source. And then that put us in front of even more people to hear concerns and navigate what those might be and how we might be able to plug in. We partnered with another nonprofit, Wine to Water, to bring people water filters who might need them. And then we got on the ground to sample both the river in certain areas as well as the sediments along the bank, specifically targeting areas that may have been below industries that were flooded or hazardous waste zones, Superfund sites, things like that, because people wanted to get in and they wanted to muck out their buildings and start putting their lives back together. There was a rumor coming out in Marshall about potential boots melting from folks who were trying to muck out their businesses, and we wanted to be able to tell folks how to keep themselves safe when they start doing that kind of stuff. And so we did a pretty big watershed analysis of what was in the river, what was in the sediments, when and how much, looking at pretty specific and intense toxins. And that allowed us to be kind of a resource for the community, like, oh, MountainTrue knows what's going on. Let's turn to them to figure out how we can. Do we need to wear PPE? Do we need to take a well sample? Do we need to shock our wells? And then, kind of through all of that, we recognized an energy in the community to want to help and started doing these volunteer-based river cleanups and greenway cleanups. And the first cleanup we did was in the River Arts District of Asheville along the greenway. And I mean, it was maybe 5 days or 6 days after the storm. And I think we had 100 or 150 people show up for 2 hours. And I don't know, Anna, if you probably saw the greenway right after the storm. It was insane.
Yeah.
And I didn't take photos, and I kind of wish I had, but it looked apocalyptic. Yeah. But within 2 hours of just those 150, we made a huge difference. And I'll kind of leave it there because that's where Stamper comes in. And he's been a unicorn in a knight in shining armor for us since those days. And he's really taken that idea and grown it to where we are now. So I can let him talk to that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
We have decided we all need a bobblehead of Stamper to have on our little dashboards.
That'd be awesome.
Well, yeah. So when Helene hit, at that time, I was not a part of MountainTrue. I worked at an outfitter here in Western North Carolina. Been in the kind of outfitting industry for a long time. Worked with a lot of incredible people that really cared about getting folks into our rivers in Western North Carolina. And yeah, when the flood hit, we had implemented our emergency action plan. The property, we had 4 properties that were along the river. All 4 of them, unfortunately, were flooded and destroyed. So I basically found myself in a situation where I was, didn't have secure employment. I was just ready to get to work. I'm pretty, if I don't know what to do, generally the answer for me is just to get busy doing something. So immediately following the flood, there was a lot of uncertainty for us as far as what, the outfitter was going to look like. I was in the category that Anna brought up of folks that had a water source. I live in a rural area and have spring-fed water. So my water source was not compromised. So I just started delivering water, to whoever and wherever I could. So that was kind of the immediate reaction. In December, so if you, fast forward a couple months beyond Helene, MountainTrue created a position as essentially to amplify the cleanup effort and the volunteer work. And they, thankfully brought me on. We kind of started with, again, amplifying the incredible volunteer base that MountainTrue is so fortunate to have. We got to work and we started focusing on river access locations and places where guides work, whether it's rafting or fishing, really in the hopes of kind of over the winter getting the put-ins and takeouts back ready to use so that in the spring we could get in the rivers and start working more and more. So that's kind of where it started. And where we're at now is we just hired our 83rd person to our workforce that is full-time out there cleaning up our rivers, executing what is the largest state-funded river cleanup operation in North Carolina history. So
amazing. Wow. Yeah, so it sounds to me that both of you are action oriented in your response, right? And I'm grateful for folks like y'all who, boots on the ground and went to work. And I also appreciate how y'all, it sounds like you said, Anna, was like I think you said trial by error, but just, I don't know if that's exactly what you said, but just trying stuff out, like not knowing, because no one knew what to do. And I've heard that from a lot. And it's kind of like, yeah, in my neighborhood as well, there was no playbook. So you just looked for what you could do. And I think that's inspirational because I think in general, people have a tendency to be like, I don't know what to do. And feeling like they need to do something the right way when really doing what you can, or collaborating with folks, and trying stuff out, even in the absence of a natural disaster, just in life. If we're talking facing discomfort zone, I mean, that is a really great strategy. You don't have to know what you're doing always. Like, yes, of course, if we're talking about river running, you want to have skill. Like, there's definitely times and places where you want to have certain skill and have developed yourself. And on the other hand, nothing ever changes if we are always waiting for the right time, the right thing to do, the right action, and you're not sure, right? So I think that's really cool. And Anna, when you say you weren't here, it seemed to me like we didn't know how bad it was. Like, it was crazy because Andrew and I, we didn't realize how bad things were until we went to try and check on his grandfather and saw Hominy Creek, and we were like, oh gosh. And then big trees. And I think people from outside almost had like the videos of everything. I don't know. That's my perception of it. Is like, here, because we had no cell service, no power, nothing. We just didn't know. You just knew in our neighborhood it wasn't so bad, but then you go out and it was really bad. So yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
And to kind of piggyback off you, Anna, like a realization and I'm probably going to word vomit, so you might want to edit this at some point. Right. But I'm had recently is like doing stuff before you're ready or before you feel like you're ready is a discomfort zone for people, I think. But it's also how you learn to do more stuff in the future. Right. We were just throwing stuff at a wall and hope to see it stick. And some stuff did and some stuff didn't. And we've learned a lot since then. But yeah, and I'm still tweaking this in my head. Like, I kind of envision myself as this person that likes progression. Like, oh, I do this, which means I'm ready for that, which means I do this, which, and right. it leads up, and hopefully I'll feel ready for the next step. But oftentimes doing that next step before you feel ready is really the right move, because you're more ready than you think. You probably are underestimating your capabilities oftentimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me think. I do a rapid fire. I'll give you a little preview. One of my questions is hard moves in easy water or flooding. And, I love hard moves in easy water. But sometimes you're in a flooding situation. I get literally in what we're talking about. And you have to jump in. Like, there is no... Hopefully you've practiced some hard moves in easy water in some form that you can apply to the flooding. But yeah, there's sometimes when that is a good, even as an instructor, right? It can't always be hard moves in easy water. That is a good strategy. And sometimes I like to challenge people right at their limit and see, what happens. So love that. And Stamper, you started by delivering water, and then you were in the community, and then you were able to apply your river running knowledge to these cleanups. And now, I mean, that it's grown to, like you said, the 83rd person being hired and the largest river cleanup in North Carolina history. I mean, that's huge. And that started with you like stepping up. So what was that like? What is your journey there? How do you see that big picture for yourself?
Sure. I think initially you're focusing on volunteering and just amplifying that, like I mentioned. And then as we started to we brought together a pilot program to kind of learn the lessons, to Anna's point of like, there's no playbook for this. Nobody's really seen this kind of high velocity flooding and like this scale of damage. We're thankful to see like federal contractors and FEMA and Corps of Engineers come up and remove the big stuff. But it was really impressive that MountainTrue had the vision to realize that like that was not going to take care of the entire problem that we're facing here. The magnitude is so hard to describe. From my combat experience in the military, am pretty comfortable with read and run and just kind of letting things come at me and adapting as they happen. So I think that's frankly, I feel like it was in the right time, at right place at the right time to be here, just to kind of be able to do that. Because this has been such a learning curve at every step,
Mm.
whether it's talking to people in the community or figuring out how to remove the car door from the riverbank, or um, how to safely, employ swiftwater rescue technique to swing a piece of metal across a waterway. So it's been for me like this really kind of stressful at times, but mostly enjoyable puzzle to kind of put together. And each day is
Mm.
different. So I kind of like that, I guess, for better or worse, to just kind of, yeah, read and run and adapt. And now, we're at this state now where we just crossed the 4 million pound mark of debris removed from our rivers.
Yeah.
And our
Wow.
teams in the field are averaging close to 10,000 pounds per day. And that's region wide, all over Western North Carolina.
That's
So I've just
amazing.
been continuing with that kind of mentality of just like take it a day at a time, and problems arise, and we solve them and learn lessons from how that went, and try to do better the next time.
Yeah. And that's incredible how much y'all have removed from the rivers. And it's hard. I mean, folks in Western North Carolina and paddlers definitely saw the photos, I think, of like the French Broad Section 9 put in right after Helene. I mean, you looked at that and you're just like, whoa. I remember just like, whoa. Like how is that going to get cleaned up? Like there was so much piled on. And then y'all, I mean, it did get cleaned up. And then I started paddling, I don't know, throughout the winter. And then, yeah, it would, again, so much along the entire river. And now, I mean, yeah, I'm still healing my back, so I haven't been out there that much. But when I have been, it's just amazing. There's like one corner on Section 9, that one near Sandy Bottom corner, that still has a bunch of stuff. But otherwise, it is so amazingly clean. And thank you for all your work. Like I am very grateful, like
It's a
super
pleasure and an
grateful.
honor. I would add, just so you know, as of last week, we have started working that stretch of river that you just referenced specifically.
Have
So
you? Yeah.
we are in progress out there right now, with our crews and some contractors, and then everybody can look forward to having that cleaned up, soon. There's still a lot of work to be done throughout that whole stretch, but
Sure.
we're going to keep at it.
And
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Anna.
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna give a little context for folks who don't live around here. So, and I thought this was fascinating. I hadn't thought about it until I was chatting with river keepers who are on the coast. They have hurricanes somewhat regularly, and when they have a hurricane, the water just like comes up and it sits there for a while, and it might be there for a week or a few weeks, and then it comes back down. But for us in the mountains, that water came up, but because of our topography, that water had so much power and so much velocity that it brought everything in its path downstream, and all of that got tangled up on bridges. It brought houses in, and it took bridges down because of how strong it was. And that's the reason why we have such a cleanup process now. It's because the sheer power of the water we saw after the or with the storm of the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
You referenced the put in at Section 9, and I think one of the things that's like really vivid for me to explain how fast and powerful the water was looking at the shipping container that had wrapped itself completely around a bridge column to the point where it was touching it, the sides of it, kind of like a horseshoe around a bridge column.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so much power and so much stuff. So much, yeah. And houses, and a lot of devastation. On the I don't know if it's positive, but for, I live close to Hominy Creek and Park, and we'll often go up there and do attainments like upstream and then back down. I like to do that on my paddleboard. And Andrew and I were noticing how it's actually cleaner than it was before the storm. Like the banks, like there had been like a ton, even before the storm, there was like a ton of fallen trees and like stuff. And now the river is actually looks clearer, especially in the winter when there's like when it's low water and there's not as much debris. It really took a lot of stuff downstream. And that's probably not great for downstream, but it's certainly like cleaned up the river corridor, it seemed like, to a certain extent. I don't know how, what I'm sure there are detrimental effects of that. So it looks nice. And what is your take on that?
That's a controversial question.
Yeah.
And it does depend on your perspective for sure. So, and I'll let Stamper give his 2 cents too. But so after the storm, there were hired contractors either through the Army Corps of Engineers or through the state that came in
Mm-hmm.
to kind of tackle the big debris. And when I say big debris, like the houses and the railroad cars and the
Right.
semis and that kind of thing, they have giant machines that they can drive up and down their waterways to get this stuff out.
Right.
They also were tasked with getting out vegetative debris, so trees that had
Mm.
fallen in, and that kind of thing. They oftentimes were found taking down live trees along the
Mm.
riverbanks too, and they there's a lot of nuance with this, so I'm going to be kind of general. They
Sure.
typically get paid by the weight, and so there's an
Mm.
incentive for them to take more than was necessary. I'm not saying that happened in every
Right.
situation, but we saw that happen oftentimes, and that is not what we want. For aquatic
Right.
life, we do like for there to be some woody debris in the waterways. That being said, you know, that stuff will come back over
Mm-hmm.
time. And it, from a paddling perspective, yes, it looks a lot better and it's a lot easier to navigate, especially those skinnier stretches of water, like maybe down in Transylvania County, where things might get jammed up over time with debris. But from an aquatic perspective, we do want some debris in the waterways too. So that's why it's kind of a
Yeah.
controversial question.
Yeah. Got
Uh,
it.
Yeah, yeah, no worries. A lot of people don't realize that, there's probably a case to be made that we should think about how we pay these contractors going forward to take away
Right.
the incentive from them to get as much as they possibly can. Um, and yeah, like we've said, it's all trial by fire. So hopefully we'll know better for the next time. But not every contractor did that everywhere. It
Sure.
just happened a lot. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
we
it's
were.
a good thing to bring up and be aware of. Absolutely.
We needed the heavy lifting. I mean, it's just like to if you honestly, it's impossible to describe the magnitude of the amount of debris and the area in which it covered. So the contractors, the Corps of Engineers, and all that, they did an incredible job of removing all the big stuff. Like I don't know where we would be had we have not had that support. That said, in a
Right.
lot of instances, it was just focused in the wrong way and taking too much of the woody debris.
Got
Um,
it.
a lot
Mm.
of this was to protect critical infrastructure, which totally agree. We need to protect bridges. We need to protect roads. There are a lot of instances that we saw that it didn't really, that really wasn't what was happening there. We were just, there simply, folks were
Right.
taking more than they needed to be paid by volume. So I think what we've done is we're coming in with a different approach, which again is we needed the heavy lifting from them, but we're coming in on a much more environmentally sound way. We're doing this at kind of at a human powered level at this point, and then employing machines and heavy equipment on a much more limited basis with a lot more attention being paid to the stream banks, to the
Mm-hmm.
river banks. I'm really happy and proud to say that in a lot of instances, kind of to your point, when we get done with a site, it's like cleaner than it was before the hurricane because we've really gone through it with a fine tooth comb. All that
Mm.
microplastic is being picked up. We are not taking any organic matter. That's not really what we're focused on. We're leaving that organic matter for habitats, for eddies and places to pull over on the side of the river. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for that work. Were there ever moments like when you saw the semi, the shipping container around the bridge, Stamper, like, did you ever feel like, deflated? I don't know if that's the word, but did you ever
sure.
feel like, did you ever have moments of this is too much? Like this is, or like ever feel like you wanted to give up? Or were you always like, let's just keep going? Like, did you have to grapple with that at all?
Sure. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty motivated, so I've never really struggled with the giving up part. I just am like ready to, like, all right, well, how are we going to fix this? But I will say, there have been multiple days and sites where I've walked up and you look at it and it's like, where do you even start? Like, will we even
Mm,
be able to make a difference here? One that like really stands out to me is Walnut Island, which is just a kind of a county park. A lot of recreational boaters take out there. It's a fairly small island in the middle of the French Broad River. We had to paddle across to get out there, and I'm standing on the island and looking at the magnitude of plastic, and cars and trees. There was a dumpster, like your normal dumpster that you might see out behind a restaurant, that had been crumpled up into a tiny little ball about the
oh,
size
wow.
of, like a little refrigerator.
Mm,
Really hard to even approach some of the sites that we were cleaning up. And still to this day, there are sites that our crews roll up on, and you're like, how are we even going to do this? And I think early on at that part, when we were still seeing these really big dramatic sites, I just kind of had to adopt, whether I wanted to or not, I kind of had to adopt the kind of one spoonful at a time mentality. And it's
yeah.
like, well, we just got to start somewhere. And we would get started. And then, whether it's an hour later or 3 weeks later, you turn around and look and you're like, wow, we've done this. So that's been my approach. And that's kind of the approach that a lot of our crews have in the field. It's like, just got to start somewhere. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good theme for this episode. Start somewhere, even if you don't know where, just do your best, for sure. I also am very grateful that the rivers are beautiful, like, or at least let's talk about the French Broad. It's still great paddling because I feel like there's still, even like over a year later. I mean, I was out on the French Broad on a beautiful fall day up at Hominy Creek. No one, this is earlier in September, still warm, sun was shining, gorgeous, and I was by myself. And part of me was like, this is great. I have the river to myself. It's so peaceful. And part of me was like, we need, I would like people to come back to the river because it's beautiful. And when people are on the river, they tend to care more about the river. And I know the French Broad has a bad rap with certain people. I mean, I've paddled it now for decades. So, and at the same time, we I want to see folks out there because if no one's out there, then no one cares about it. And I don't want people to, when people are like, "Ew, the French Broad, gross," it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of beauty on the French Broad, and we can all, like you all are saying, you got to start somewhere. There's been advocacy for water quality for a long time, and different things, and so how do you all feel about the present, the future of the French Broad, having folks come back to it, and not just the French Broad, but it could be the Nolichucky, it could be the Pigeon, it could be whatever rivers in the area.
I'm excited for it. I think you're totally right, Anna. Especially the Asheville stretch of the French Broad was really quiet this summer. I do think down in Transylvania County, which wasn't hit quite as hard, they saw pretty regular numbers in terms of outfitters down there. I'm not sure about the Section 9 outfitters. Stamper might know more than I do there, but yeah, I want people to come back to the river, to appreciate it, to see what it has to offer. It's always been a place of respite for me, a place to really get into my body, like we were talking about earlier, and be with my friends outside in a really cool spot. So I do hope folks like recognize it for that resource and want to connect with it, and we'll work every day for that to happen, however long it takes.
Yeah. What is have y'all been doing water quality testing recently on the French Broad? What is
We
that
have,
like?
yeah, it basically mimics what I'm telling folks. It basically looks the same as it does pre-Helene. So historically, when we have a big rain event, we tend to see pollution levels increase. And if you wait a few hours or a day, when it, after a rain here, it looks like chocolate milk oftentimes. But once it clears back up, pollution tends to subside. I can go on a whole spiel of more information than you really probably want to know about all that. But we currently have a public facing recreation monitoring program. And what I mean by that is we take samples all through the summer and we post those results to a website so that people know where it's safe to go swimming. There's some drawbacks to that particular site in the fact that we have to use a water quality standard that's meant for folks who want to go swimming. And by that, I mean they want to immerse their heads in the water and do laps, that kind of a thing. And that's not how most people use the French Broad.
Right.
When most people get in the river, they're getting in a canoe, they're getting on a paddleboard, a kayak. And so the safe water quality threshold for that is actually much higher. And the French Broad typically does meet that standard regularly. If we have a rain, it might be a different story. But so I think there's, some education we need to do in the future. We're going to hopefully shift away from this old way of portraying the data to a new version of portraying the data so that it accurately reflects how people are using our rivers in the coming season. But I do think we need to educate people on what it means when we say safe to go to the French Broad.
Right.
And we don't want to scare people away, but we want to alert them, how to keep themselves safe at the same time.
Thanks for sharing that. I actually wasn't aware that that was the standard. Like I didn't know that, and I'm on the the river a lot. So or around rivers. So that's really, really important information. And yeah, that would be great for folks to know. And essentially what you're saying is if you were tubing and paddling before Helene, it's the same.
The outfitters are ready to see people come back. I'm coming from the outfitting world. I've worked along the French Broad River for a really long time. Have helped facilitate thousands and thousands of people to go down the rivers in multiple different types of watercraft. For folks that are coming into the area, if you're a boater and you bring your own boat, I mean, there's an incredible amount of boating community around Western North Carolina that can point you in the right direction. If you're not, already a boater, go with a reputable outfitter, but they are most ready to welcome you back out onto our rivers. We still have work to do, but that said, I mean, Anna and I didn't get quite all of it, but I mean, our group paddled the entirety of the French Broad earlier in the year. And I think, the takeaway was like, yeah, we're ready to get things back up and going. The French Broad's an economic driver for Western North Carolina. It creates a lot of jobs, brings a lot of people into the region. So, I would say that most of the outfitters are ready to see folks show back up.
Yeah. And it's so fun and beautiful, regardless of whether you're on the through town section that's like mellow and relaxing and beautiful, or on section 9, which is one of my favorite. It's actually probably my favorite run to teach on. I mean, I love teaching folks on section 9. There's so many different moves, features. Yeah, it's really great.
It's my favorite too.
Yeah, same. We're really fortunate that, like, the geology of Section 9 of the French Broad, like, really, it's already down to the bedrock there, so it
Right.
didn't take a lot out of the main channel. Most
Yep.
of the lines are still very, very similar. And a lot of great outfitters are out there. We're running all summer, and there's still work to do to pick up trash, but it's really cool to see people back out there running. It's
Yeah.
just such an incredible stretch of water.
Yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Yeah, I was very grateful that it didn't change, hardly at all. So that was fun. And Big
Yeah,
Laurel. Big Laurel is also one of my favorites that runs into the French Broad, which was a little crazy that it didn't even really get that high, which
I
is
live on the
blows my
headwaters of the Big
mind.
Laurel,
Do you?
and yeah, so I live like pretty far up into the headwaters of the Big Laurel. And I will say what's crazy is 3 or 4 miles in either direction of us. It's really bad, but for whatever reason, the Big Laurel watershed just did not receive the rainfall. And in
Yeah.
fact, during the hurricane, kind of right after the storm passed, I walked down to the river, and you could have convinced me that that was just a normal heavy storm as far as the water level we saw. So that
Right.
was really strange.
Yeah. So wild. Anna,
I
were you
went
going to say
to
something? Yeah, go for it.
yeah, I was just I went to the green race this past Saturday, and it was my first time down
Nice.
there since the storm, and I had no idea where I was because I didn't
Yeah.
recognize any of it. So, yeah, we are
Yeah.
pretty fortunate to have most of our rapids look the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that I'm glad you went. We were out of town actually, so I didn't get to go down in there. But I was really happy that the rain came for the race and they got to put it on. And again, you know, uh, new era as they're saying, and yeah, look forward to that. So that's fun that you went, Anna.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
two
was
of
fun to
our
be down there.
the three team employees that ran, so we were excited. A few of our crew members went out to support them,
Right
and
on.
I think it's really cool to see that community come back together.
Yeah, very cool. John, Anna, do y'all have a question for me?
Ooh.
You don't have to. I always
Oh,
ask
I
this.
do.
Okay.
What? Okay, two-part question. How do
Okay.
you recognize your discomfort zone? And when you recognize it, what's the next step?
Okay.
Asking for a friend.
Got it. I recognize my discomfort zone I feel resistance. Like resistance, whether it's a physical, like if I'm on a river that I'm nervous about, I will want to pull into an eddy and like stop and just like, and then, or procrastination. It can look like procrastination if it's like a discomfort with something on the non-river side of my business or project. And then how I get through it is, to remind myself that I chose it, that I chose to be there. And that if I chose to be there, there was a reason that I chose to be there. And so that helps me because then I find my why. Like if I'm on the river, I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Like, and then I think, well, because you love the people and you feel really good at the end and you feel accomplished and you remind yourself that you can do hard things, that you can be scared and do it anyway and come out the other side. And that motivates me. And then it's like, I love the feeling of no return when you peel out of the eddy and you're committed. And so then it's just looking forward, literally looking forward. My vision, I use vision a lot to like looking where I want to go and locking in on that. So yeah, same thing if it's like a project that I'm working on and like I'll procrastinate and then just be like, look, you chose this, like you designed your business this way. So get your butt in gear, and look at the outcome that you want to create or the outcome, or, for me, it's being of service to people, or sharing conversations like this or, making a difference for people. And if I can remember my why, then it's a lot easier to get in. So that's my answer today for you, Anna. Thanks for that question.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives you ownership over it.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Are you all ready for rapid fire?
Uh-oh.
So
I guess.
well, this is just a tip segment I do on every episode. And there's 2 of you, which is great. So we'll just, have both of you answer. It's designed to be like 1 sentence, 1 word, even whatever, short answers. So first question is, what is a morning ritual that sets you up for success? Hey, thanks for listening to the show. I've got some fun and meaningful gift ideas for you this holiday season. I believe in giving the gift of experience, in giving something that is game changing in courage, confidence, and flow. And I invite you to go to mindbodypaddle.com and check out the different programs I have that would make incredible gifts for your favorite paddling buddy or adventurer, including a subscription to the Mind Body Paddle community, an amazing group of women paddlers. Maybe it's private coaching, 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months of accountability, of mental agility work, of growth, inner growth, and paddling skill growth. Or maybe they'd really love a day of private instruction on the water in 2026. You can purchase a day now, and they can schedule it whenever they'd like to in 2026. And of course, there's Mental Agility Mastery 8-week course coming up at the end of January, which is a live online course, super powerful. Again, a lot of inner growth, mental agility, courage, confidence, and paddling skill, of course. Or maybe your favorite paddler is struggling with their role in the pool, and they could really use 30 minutes or 60 minutes of video review online, one-on-one with me, to help them really nail their role and feel confident going into next season. So again, I've got lots of different options for you. Go to mindbodypaddle.com. Email me at anna@mindbodypaddle.com if you have any questions. And thanks for considering giving the gift of courage, confidence, and flow.
Taking in a view on the drive in, just focusing on one, wherever it is. It may not be the same place every day. Just looking at one beautiful moment.
Love it. What about you, Anna?
I don't do this every day, but I'm trying to, is moving my body somehow, whether that's like going on a walk or trying to hit the gym or something, going on a run.
Yeah, right on. What's a non-negotiable self-care practice?
Mine's the same answer. It's moving my body somehow.
That's great. Okay, got it.
I find I get pretty cranky if I don't do it.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to go with like self-care on warming layers in the water. Like, don't underestimate the need for more layers.
Yeah, especially this time of year.
Yep.
It's awesome. Okay, what motivates you? Like, do you have a favorite motivational quote, book, talk, song, movie? I don't know. What motivates you?
Oh, dang, that's a good question.
Yeah. I think for me right now, it's just the motivation of just like kind of seeing the rivers back to the way they were before Helene. It's been really great in the fall. Fall's my favorite time of year. The color out on the rivers right now is just incredible. So like, that's my motivator, is like restoring these rivers back to the way they were before the storm, so that by next fall or the next, or however long it takes, eventually there's going to be a moment where I'm going to hop into a boat and be going down the river, and it's going to be like it's the way it was before.
Awesome.
I love that. I feel motivated by a lot of things, I think. Like, we have an amazing team at MountainTrue, and it's such an honor and pleasure to get to work with some of the best people in this business. I get to learn from them every day. I'm motivated by my river. The French Broad is where I learned to paddle and cut my teeth on whitewater, and it gives me so much joy that I just get excited about the work that I get to do for it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, what do people get wrong about you?
I listened to your podcast, so I know all of these questions, and I should have been prepared.
It's fine. I like in the moment.
Okay, good call. I think people might think that I'm quiet or reserved because I'm small in stature. I think oftentimes I take in information before I bring out my own ideas, and I'm not necessarily one to just like be in the middle of the party commanding the orchestra, but I want to like get folks input before delving into like my own perspective. So I'm not necessarily shy, but I like to have I just like to give space to others.
Yeah, got it. So in other words, don't anyone underestimate Anna because she's small. What about you, Stamper?
Yeah, I think a lot of people hear that I'm prior military, that I was a Marine, and that I'm going to be really kind of have a militant outlook on things. It's not really the case for me. I really, really care about everybody having a seat at the table and being able to voice their opinion. And I think that the best work I do is when I take the most input that I can from others into it. So,
Love it. Okay, throughout the course of your lives, have you felt like the underdog or the favored to win?
Underdog.
Okay, what about you, Stamper?
I think at different times it goes different directions. Honestly, I think in parts of my life I felt like the underdog, and then other times I felt like everything was headed in the right direction. So yeah, I kind of got to go with both on that one. That's a good question.
Yeah. Okay, hard moves in easy water or flooding?
Flooding.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer hard moves in easy water, but I understand the value of flooding.
Yeah. Okay, what's a word that describes your comfort zone?
Did you say comfort zone?
Yeah, comfort zone. Like, yeah.
The older I get, the more I hope the word that describes it is rational.
Rational. Okay.
I like that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Mine would be probably cozy.
Cozy. Got it. Okay. Freedom through discipline or I do what I want.
I'm a lot of freedom through discipline.
Same. Yeah, me too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then in one word, what do you hope your legacy will be?
That's a good one.
And I'm stumped.
I know. Don't worry. Just because you say it on this episode does not mean you can't change it later.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with participative.
Awesome.
I'll go with, oh my gosh. I'll go with collaborative.
Okay. Love it.
I almost just Googled what are legacy words.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you say you were a 7 on the Enneagram?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do 7s overthink? Is that?
I think so.
Is that part of there?
They're like in the head realm.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. What do y'all want to say to our listeners about MountainTrue's work, how they can follow up? Maybe folks want to donate. Maybe they want to volunteer. So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with y'all?
Yes, please reach out. We have a website, MountainTrue.org. We also have a plethora of social media handles you can follow. There's Instagram, MountainTrue, and French Broad Riverkeeper. And I think there's still Facebook ones floating around.
Great. And
Stamper
I'll put
Dennis,
those
anything?
in the show notes as well.
I'd
Thank you.
add that in the small chance that there's any landowners in the Western North Carolina area that needs their properties cleaned up, or help with their areas alongside small streams, big rivers, and everything in between, check out cleanupwncrivers.com, and that is going to give them the ability to link up with us to see if we can help them clean up their property at no charge to them. And then beyond that, volunteer opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. Can you say that website one more time?
Yep. Cleanupwncrivers.com.
Okay. Got it. Thank y'all so much for taking the time to be here. Thank you so much for the work that y'all are doing. It's so important. I so appreciate it. And I know paddlers, river, folks who enjoy the river, folks who live alongside the rivers, really appreciate you all. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
It's been fun.
Sweet. That's what I like to hear.